This is Trigger Point, Episode 5. My name's Serena, and sitting across from me is my co-host, Peter. Hello, Peter.
Hello, everyone.
So, I guess we should say Happy New Year.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. Although it's probably a bit,
into February by the time this comes out.
So probably be more suitable for us to say Happy Chinese New Year's.
Yeah, and Happy Valentine's Day.
Probably.
Yeah. Talking about Valentine's Day, the other day I watched La La Land.
All right. No, I haven't watched that yet. So
there wasn't a lot of marketing in Melbourne.
I think it got overshadowed a bit by like Rogue One and other films.
Actually, what other films are out currently?
Messenger. That has more.
Yeah. No. Things came out after January 1st.
Yeah.
But La La Land came out way before then.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was for the whole of December.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, in that case, then I didn't see the fact that I didn't even know it was out in December.
It wasn't like there are posters around, but it's not.
There was a particular when we go to watch the cinema that I've found recently they kept on showing this scene about turn off your phone.
Yeah.
That's from that movie, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and I completely did not even realize that was a movie. I literally thought that was...
No, that was turn off your phone warning.
Yeah.
But it's also linked to that movie.
Yeah, and I just had no idea that it actually was linked to a movie. Like, it wasn't even clear that...
Yeah,
it didn't even register to me that those two were, like...
In a movie?
It was like, oh, okay. I just thought it was a really funny, like, ad. And then I was like, okay, that's done. Next.
Yeah, no, they didn't do a very good job of it, especially since I didn't think that scene really represented the movie too well, considering the movie was a musical and you see nothing of that in that scene, right?
Yeah.
And also, I don't remember seeing any of the trailers.
I don't remember seeing a trailer for that film. Until you mentioned La La Land, I didn't even realize that was a film.
Yeah, I normally only know what movies are out through trailers I watch, and I haven't seen that one.
Anyway, so La La Land.
Yes, it's a musical. I went in with my boyfriend, and I didn't tell him it was a musical until the first note played. And then I said, sorry, it's a musical. And he looked at me and he said something that I shouldn't repeat over air.
Poor Andrew.
Well, I mean, I wasn't actually too sure of it myself, only because I was staying far away from any reviews or anything about the movie. I only knew that the movie was a romantic comedy kind of thing, romance, not romantic comedy, romance, and that it might have some music in it. I didn't know what extent there was. I didn't know there was a whole cast with dancers and tap dancing and all sorts of stuff. It was fantastic.
Right. Okay. Sounds like my type of movie.
Yeah,
Not sure Andrew would be the best.
Actually, he liked it.
Oh, okay.
He was engaged. Like, after we came out of the movie, he said he was engaged throughout the whole movie, and he was surprised by that. I mean, to be honest, the movie was not the best made movie. Like, some of the filming, because they kind of use like 1930s filming techniques kind of thing. Like, if you ever watch any Fred Astaire movies, it's filmed like that. A lot of the scenes and transitions are like that. But because people haven't made musicals in a long time, and I'm not counting Les Mis or stuff like things that were on theatre. I'm talking about actual musicals made for movies. Their transition from speech to singing is a little rough around the edges. And you can see it in some of the dance choreography when you have a big group of people dancing. Like, how do you film that group and how do you make it look natural without it being like, hey, you got a group of people dancing when they don't normally dance? Like, things like that were a little bit rough around the edges.
Right.
And there's a lot of scenes where there's no dialogues at all. There's just music. And I think modern audience members will benefit from watching a movie like that just because it's so refreshing. Like, movies aren't made like that anymore. And I found it interesting to watch, even though I don't like the ending.
Okay.
I found the movie nice and good. It was interesting.
Okay.
Worth watching.
It's pretty good.
I would recommend you watch it because I think you'd like that sort of thing.
If I have time.
Yes.
But in saying time, whatever time that I did find in this period of not doing any recording and
Yes.
having some time to actually enjoy doing stuff that I like, I played Final Fantasy 15, and oh god,
Was that gifted to you, or did you buy it yourself?
I bought it first day it came out, special edition with the whole shebang, download contents, everything.
And I'm guessing we can hear from your tone of voice that
I really, 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 really wanted to like this game. I absolutely, really, really wanted to like this game. I waited for this game for 10 freaking years.
10?
Yeah, well, since it got announced.
Okay.
It was announced back in 2005.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, they announced it. Obviously, they didn't do any development for a long time and other stuff got away. But still, it was in limbo for so many years. And then it got rebooted because initially it was called Versus 13, not 15. Then it got rebranded to 15. And then the whole story was changed.
Wait, is 15 the one with the 4 guys in the car?
Yes.
Oh, okay, my brother's playing that right
Yes. Boy band.
now. Yes. Did you watch the movie?
No, and I'll get to that in a second. I bought the PS3. That was the PS3. It's specifically for this game because it was supposed to come out on the PS3.
Oh, wait, that's a long time ago.
We are now in PS4 era. Okay, this is how long the game took.
I thought you meant you recently bought a PS3 to play the game.
No. I brought the PS3 to buy back whenever, specifically because like this game looked awesome. I'm going to buy it now. So there's a few games I was looking for, and this was one of those. And it didn't come on the PS3 until now. So, okay.
At least the game is still playable on PS3. Imagine if it's only playable on PS4 and forced you to buy a PS4.
It is only playable on the PS4. I did buy a PS4. Did I not just say I bought a special edition limited PS4 for this specific game?
Steam is coming out of Peter's ears right now.
I had so much
Expectation.
expectations. Oh, okay, no. Let me dial it back. I didn't have that great expectations because I know that this game was going to be a very much open world RPG, very much more Western style RPG than the traditional Final Fantasy, which is more JRPG. Anyway.
Yeah, okay.
So
that's what you meant.
It's not supposed. They've changed the way how to build the game and stuff, which fine. And I get it. I probably wouldn't like the battle concept as much because it's going to be much more about reflexes and then just the old school JRPGs uses time. ATBs. Anyway, just
It's been a while since I played Final Fantasy.
Yeah. Anyway, so this is more like reflex, kind of like you see something, attack, parry. So there's a lot more reflex, and I thought I would hate it because I'm no longer as
young.
Yeah. In short, yes, I'm not as young anymore. I don't have as much reflexes these days. I want to play an RPG where I can relax, and that's the thing for me though. I wanted to play a game where, even if I'm in battle, I can kind of collect my thoughts to see what I'm going to do and stuff. And
play a dating sim. That's very relaxing.
Anyway. So I had expectations, but not great expectations going into this game. And I really, really wanted to like it. All I can say is it has probably the most unsatisfying ending of any Final Fantasy games I've played. And I've played a lot of them. Okay. My rant over on that. Okay, now your turn.
That's because you know what the next topic is about. I'll try to keep this short. I mean,
keep it short because we are going to talk about it next week. So
yeah. No, I'll keep it short. You made me read Matthew Riley.
That it?
It has been, I think, a week, 2 weeks since you've given me the book.
Yeah.
I am, I think, 1/8 through the book. No, less. 1/10 of the way through the book. I hate it. I don't think I can express just how much I hate it without expounding upon the reasons why I hate it.
This is like the first 4 or 5 chapters that she's read, and she's already got like...
No, it's more than 4 or 5 chapters because each chapter is only 2 pages for this guy. I have to try very, very hard not to throw the book against the wall because
it's my book.
It's Peter's book. It's an actual physical book with
Yes.
physical pages made from dead trees, and it's a hardcover, so it makes it even harder to read, especially if I fall asleep with it in bed. It hurts. I will try to restrain myself until we do our next recording.
Which we are talking about.
I just don't know whether I'll be able to make it. I don't know whether I'll be able to finish the book. It's causing me physical pain.
Not my problem.
There's one thing good about this book is that after reading it, I think if by the time I finish this book, it will give me renewed confidence in my own writing ability and in my ability to get published. Because if this guy got published, I should be able to get published. Because seriously, how did this guy... Oh God. Yeah. By
the way, yes, he is published like quite widely.
I know.
Not just in Australia. He's like a sellout in like China and like a lot of other countries. So
I don't understand.
Maybe it's just you, Serena.
No, it isn't. Look at Goodreads. There are a lot of negative reviews. Probably not as many as the good reviews, but then that's always Goodreads. I mean, you look at some of the young adult novels and you wonder how just...
Okay, anyway, we will talk about Ancient Seven Wonders next week, and we will go through all the details.
Next month. You need to give me more time to read this book.
That is true.
I guess we should move on.
Yes. We should actually start talking about, what we were going to talk about for this particular podcast. So, your name.
Yes. My name?
Your name? My name?
The name of the movie is Your Name. It's an animated film that was showing on the Japanese Film Festival in Melbourne for the past, 2 months, 3 months.
Yeah, 3 months.
Yeah. In case you didn't know what the name of the movie was, the phrase "your name" is said so many times in the movie. They just repeat it constantly, like as if you didn't realize it already.
The Japanese name is Kimi no Na wa, so just...
Yes. And they say it as a slang too. They don't use the full formal
way of saying, yeah. Yeah.
So, let's start with our would you like about it?
Okay, I enjoyed the film. It was a very enjoyable film. I can see why it did so well, especially in Asia, in Japan and China. I can really see why it did well there. I enjoyed it. It was a very it was a very satisfying film in some respects, as in the story had a start, a middle, and an end. It had an ending.
But it was also very good at tugging emotional heartstrings. Like, it will make you frustrated. It
makes you frustrated so much.
But it satisfies you in the end.
Yes. And that's why I liked it, because yes, while it has those, frustrations, and you're like, why don't you just do this? Or why do you at the end of the day, the story gives me a satisfying conclusion. I'm happy that, at the end of the day, I'm happy when, the ending comes and I'm like, oh, good. Finally, you guys, yeah.
Well, the audience members I found were very reactive to the show. Like, they were very engaged.
Yeah.
Like, when things were funny, they laughed. When things were like frustrating, you could feel the tension. Like, people like, you got to be kidding me, right?
I had 4 young females like behind me while I was watching the film, and every time something, like romantic or something like was frustrating, they'll be like, I just like meanwhile, me and my friends were like sitting in front of me and going like,
yes, you're rolling your eyes.
Like, yes, I get it. Yes, that's I get the whole heart talking about, do you really have to be so like, oh my God? Then again, we weren't 16, so I guess that's probably different as well. If you're a 16-year-old and you're going into watching this film, yes, that may be the reaction you're going to have. So
actually, a slight tangent there. When we were 16, there weren't that many movies that made us say these things, right? We weren't 16 when Twilight came out.
Yeah, true.
Right?
True. Actually, yeah, what would be our kind of film that does this?
They didn't make any movies for our age level during that time. We had Disney animated movies.
Which is always,
But no one sighs over it. Yeah. But then it's cringy. Like when I watched City of Bones, was that the first one? There was a young adult book that was made into a movie. When the male lead came out, I swear to God, like a third of that cinema went, ah. And then when he confessed his love to her, you had people going, oh my God. And it was very distracting to watch. But then, of course, this is the same thing, right? In this movie, you had people who were reacting to the movie, which could, help build an atmosphere, right?
Yeah,
it creates kind of atmosphere that makes it very enjoyable to watch movies when people are laughing when you're laughing.
Oh, and I think the one reason why I kind of really enjoyed this film was because they handled the pacing really well in a sense that they handled like the comedy. They mixed the comedy with the romance, with the discretions, and they handled that very well. They built it up very well. Like so, it started off very lighthearted, very funny, and there were so many scenes that it was kind of like, oh my God, yeah, I would totally do that, or certain things where you're like, yeah, that makes sense.
Do I want to know what it is that you would do that's the same as the guy?
Anyway, moving along. So yeah, the film really worked in that sense.
Yep.
What about you? Did you enjoy it?
Oh yeah, no. I think the only thing I wish was done differently, and this was me, not the movie, was I was a little late getting into the cinema.
And whose fault was that?
Not entirely mine. Not entirely mine.
That is true. That was the one where Andrew thought he bought the tickets for the wrong day.
Yes.
Wrong time.
Yes.
True.
Yes.
Sure, I'll give you that one.
So we went into the movie just as the opening song started. And there was a small scene before that. And because the movie starts pretty abruptly, as in after the opening song, I thought I missed out on a lot of crucial information beforehand, whereas in actual fact the bit before the opening song really didn't give you much information either.
Yeah.
It built up on it established a sort of emotion or a feeling to begin the movie, but that didn't actually give you much information. So when I got into the cinema and started watching from where it started, and it was very abrupt and they throw you into the deep end, I thought I was playing catch up. I was trying to work out what was going on. Yeah. And I think because of that, I didn't feel some of the emotions at the start of the movie because I was trying so hard to work out what's going on. But in saying that, the start of it didn't really have too much important things going on that if you weren't concentrating, you'd miss out on crucial information.
Yeah. I think this film in particular, like when we were talking this, like between ourselves previously, it does, in some ways, it does require people to kind of have watched similar, like premises beforehand.
Yes.
So, okay, spoiler here. The premise is, the girl and the guy, they switch bodies.
Yes, they
randomly they just switch bodies and
they'll wake up and they'll find out that they're in the other person's body and they have to live in the other person's body for a day.
Yeah, until they go back to sleep, pretty much. And it's obviously a premise that's been done quite a bit. Like it's not something new and drastic. And so the good and bad part, I guess, for this film is it plays on the fact that it assumes people have read books or have read mediums or seen mediums where this kind of thing happens before. Yeah. So they don't explain that part a lot. And as you said, that's why the first part seems really abrupt because they just kind of assumed, okay, this is happening It just does.
Yep. And they don't go into too much detail about these characters being oblivious to what's going on, or like having to
work it out that, oh, I've changed bodies. It's very quick that they kind of go, oh, this is what happens and this is what I need to do. And so the whole it requires people to kind of accept that as something that, okay, and because most people would have seen something very similar, it's fine.
It's very familiar.
Yeah, it's very familiar. But it would be one film where it would be really annoying if it was the first type of film that does this.
You might get a bit confused because of the fact that they don't dwell too much on them getting used to body switching, or like what mistakes would they make? Like, would they know how to dress themselves, or would they know how to go to the bathroom, considering they're in different gender bodies?
Well, they did kind of do that here, but
they mention it, but they don't they only show the person going into the bathroom and then coming back out, and they blush.
Yeah.
And you just understand and you get it. And they go through that quickly. All these issues are dealt with really quickly.
It's basically like a scene.
It's a montage.
It's a montage, yeah. It's like it's a scene of what happens, and then next it's like, okay, I've worked it out.
Yes,
done.
And I think that's the other thing. I mean, with any trailers I saw, they actually did tell you it was about gender switching, and what I was afraid of going into the movie was that this was going to be another one of those movies where you dealt with them getting used to their bodies, or the embarrassing things that they have to get used to, which I've seen a million times. What I found interesting in this movie was the fact that they didn't have to do any. Well, they barely dwelt on it, and the fact that these two characters dealt with the issue very, very logically and smartly, like cleverly. Like they know when they're in the other person's body, and they will keep notes.
Yeah.
So that when the original owner goes back to the body, they can read the notes and understand what's been done, like what repercussions will happen. Like the girl would help the guy ask another girl on a date. Yes. And leave the note in their calendar to remind them, oh, you got a date coming up this Saturday. So you won't have any of those situations where you see in the olden day, like movies back in the 90s, when things like this happen. You'll have people going back to their bodies and not understanding what's been done to them or why certain things are happening. In this movie, they dealt with it really quickly.
Well, they did show like one scene where the first time they realize, oh, why is this happening? And they don't. And then the second scene, they'll already tell you, this is why this is happening, and now we need to do something about it. And so that was really good. Like, it doesn't dwell on that part, and just like they do a very logical thing of, what we would do, write down what happened and stuff. Before we continue, I just want to say how much I loved the opening song. I found the opening song to be it's a very upbeat song, and it's very catchy, and it kind of makes. The funny thing is, like, in some respects, it was because of the song that I actually wanted to watch this film.
Okay.
Because I actually watched this trailer quite a few times. I was watching other anime on Anime Lab. And they kept on showing this trailer, and they kept on showing the song, and that song really kind of got me like intrigued, and you're like, I want to watch this. Like, it sounds really catchy, and so
I actually don't remember that opening song.
Really?
No, because currently in my head I have the La La Land song stuck in my head. Like that soundtrack is going through my head constantly, so I can't remember any songs right now. So that's why I say to you, you would like La La Land.
Oh, just like the song is called Sen 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 Se, so it just means previous life, and I like how the lyrics kind of allude to what the show is about in some ways, but not like very blatantly.
Yep.
Anyway, so
because I think we should also mention that the body swapping is actually not the main.
It's not the main theme. Well, I guess it is main.
It's an overarching theme.
Yeah.
But it's not the point of the show.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's the body shot swapping is only part of the story.
It's the vehicle for how the show develops.
Yes, and I really need to say that this is spoiler. Like, so far we've managed to not say too much about what the movie's about, or do too many spoilers. But from this point on, there will be spoilers because
There's no getting around it. We can't explain the show if we don't spoil it.
well, no, it's just they use two tropes, right? They
Yep.
use body swapping,
Yep.
and they use time travel,
Yep.
and they don't mention anything about the time travel in the trailer.
Yep.
And they've managed to hide the time travel twist until the end of the movie.
Yeah. Which was, I must say, that was very smart. Like, unless you know it going into the film, it is very easy to completely ignore those little signs that something was amiss.
Yeah.
Now that we've watched it, we can go, oh, so that's why that happened, or that's why, something didn't make sense. But the film did a very good job in making you not come to that logical step.
Yeah.
And one of the things that they did really well, in my opinion, was showing both of them watching the same
Comet event, yeah.
at the start of the show. It just, both of them sees it and they talk about, that, something's missing. I feel something's missing.
Yeah,
and that kind of automatically links everyone to the fact that they've watched the same star.
Yeah, it
at the
puts
same
them
time,
yeah.
in the same time frame, which it wasn't. And that was the really brilliant part in my mind on how they managed to kind of made everyone ignore all the other things that kind of showed you that it was a different time. So I love that. I love that scene. And just because that scene was also a very pretty scene. It was a very pretty
But they
scene.
did reuse it a few times in the movie.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was a fantastic job how they did that. But I feel like because they didn't show that in the trailer, and they had to keep it a secret, but because they didn't show it in the trailer made the movie look like it was just going to be about a body swap. Yeah. And some people might not watch the movie because they think it's just about a body swap, about two teenagers who are coming to terms with their own gender and sexuality because they're forced into another person's body, because that's
usually what happens in those films.
Yes. And the fact that there was no allusion to there being anything else, I wonder whether they might have
lost some viewers because of that.
Like it would really have depended on people word of mouth, you know, to really
bring people to watch it. I can see that.
Because also the art style and the color and stuff, it's very feminine. There's a lot of pastel colors and stuff, and the genre and the theme is very female orientated and less male. But
to be fair, the whole cinema, I think there was only about 30% guys, if that.
Yeah, but the movie could have been a male oriented movie. No, you don't think so?
No, I still think it's predominantly female oriented. I don't think, even if with the whole time
because it's a romance.
No. It's just because you actually don't, because you come from the
female side of the argument.
No. It's like when you're watching these films, the guy's actions are always trying to elicit responses from the female audience, I feel. A lot of the things.
But even when he grabs his own, her boobs, that's not a...
I don't know. Most of the females were laughing.
I was laughing, but I just don't know whether a guy would appreciate it more than the girl. Like a female audience might not appreciate it as much as the male audience.
But in the later part of the film, especially once...
she disappears.
Yeah, once she disappears and it's pretty much on his kind of point of view.
Yeah.
I feel like, particularly that part, it's more like the female audience be like, oh, I really want him to find out. I really I feel that.
You don't think a guy would do what he's done?
No, he will. But it just doesn't elicit the same kind of...
guys won't care.
Not to the point where... I don't know. I still feel like it's not a
guy movie.
It's definitely not a guy movie. But I would say, probably maybe 70-30 more for females.
Okay. Yeah, no, okay.
even after watching the film. Like I can definitely tell like my guy friends, like, oh, it's actually not like there's a lot more to it than that. But I would still think most guys would probably find it not as exciting as my female friends would.
Sure. But now we're talking about not just male and female audience. We're talking about male and female who watches anime.
Yeah.
Right? Because I find that...
Yeah, actually, anime audiences are quite different, to be fair.
Yeah. They're a little bit more open to a more female-orientated kind of storyline sometimes.
Yeah.
Because a male-orientated storyline in anime is very male-orientated.
Yeah. Think Naruto.
Yeah, there's that bit. I mean, there's a lot of females who watch it. I was talking more along the lines of fan service.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And this show had a little.
Yeah. But I don't think it was... It's not so, like, upfront and blatant, like, you know...
There wasn't a lot of upshots.
Yeah, and, you know, as much as, like, Sword Art Online has a whole heap of fan service to the point where it's just like, yeah, I get it. Like, just, you can kind of tone down on that a bit. Like, it's... Anyway, different topic. Yeah, so, no, I can see why... well, I don't know. I don't know if it kind of loses audience because of that. Like... I just said that because after people watching it, they probably will tell people that they should watch it anyway, which is why I still think why it did so well is because for the people who did watch it, they're like, no, you have to watch it.
They were actively telling other people to watch it.
And this is one of those films that I can see people actively promoted. Yeah. Whereas there's films that people are like, oh, that was a good film, but they don't really kind of promote it. They don't really kind of encourage people to watch it. Whereas I feel this film does that to you. Like, you kind of go like, no, it actually has a very intriguing storyline, and it does.
You want other people to watch this.
Yeah, and just, you know, just feel that frustration. Yeah. Okay.
So I now that we mentioned what we liked, you know, and we did end on a note about talking about the frustration. What are some of the frustrating things about this show?
Okay, so first part that not frustration, but first part that I kind of felt
icky.
Well, not icky, but it's just kind of, okay, so they play on the part where, you know, the guy goes in, wakes up and he's in this girl's body.
Yep.
And the first thing he does is looks down and he sees, oh, boobs. And he basically just plays with the boobs.
Fills himself up, yep.
Fills himself up. And you see a shot of that, which is, you know, it was very funny at the time. You know, everyone in the cinema laughed at it. But I did feel that showed that a few too many times. Like, it just kind of...
How many times, though? There were only like... Okay, so that first time when he wakes up, he was... feeling his boobs.
No, because every time, like the second time he's like, oh, should I do this? I probably shouldn't for her sake. And then you still him see you do it.
Yes.
Like, I don't know. I just, like, I could skip that second one.
Well, no, if you skip the second one, then you don't get that last one, right?
Yeah, where he's feeling and he's crying at the same time.
Yeah, because the whole idea was that he wasn't able to
see, and I had a problem with that as well. I was like, and when you've just realized that, yes, I finally managed, is that the first thing you would think of to feel the boobs? I don't know.
Well, that was really funny. That was really funny. The fact that he thought he lost the girl. They weren't swapping bodies for a long time. And then finally he manages to get back into her body. He wakes up and he realizes, oh, she's alive. I'm in her body. It's back to normal. And he's crying. And then and then
the boobs.
And then the sister opens the door and she sees the guy, you know, squeezing the boob again, then crying, and snot's going everywhere. Tears are going everywhere, but his hands are still on the boobs. I found that was really, really funny.
And then you also just go, oh my God, my sister has finally gone mental.
Yes.
I thought that was great. No, I can see why it needed to be done, but I don't know. Like,
I think it's the fact that, as you said, that was a joke made for female audiences because we're making fun of the fact that guys can't control themselves.
Yeah,
even in those situations.
Yeah, it's kind of like, seriously, that's the thing. You like, and in some respects, it puts a kind of comedic moment in a part where I don't feel it needed the comedy.
Well, no, if we had the whole sadness there, right? Because he was
Well, he doesn't need to say. He can still have, he's upbeat. He realizes that, oh, she's alive. That's great.
But then,
it doesn't need to be funny.
No, but by that point, you had to deal with the fact that she had to save the world or save that town. And it's like serious from that point onward. You had to have that last bit where it kind of lifted and elevated people's emotions.
I thought that broke away from me. Like that, I actually felt it ruined how serious the plot was going in some ways, because I felt like something's happening. I need to, go and save the town. And then suddenly you're like, that's funny. And
save the town section was a very long scene, right? Like he had to go through the town, he had to convince his father, who wasn't convinced, her father, convince her friends, and then they had to come up with a plan, and then they have to, initiate the plan.
I hated the plan, by the way.
Well,
who at what? Why would someone at that age think, oh, I need to get people out of this? I'm just going to blow everything up.
They didn't blow everything up.
No, they blow the power plant up.
Yes. And it's if they didn't do it, people won't listen. They did it and people still didn't listen.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Like, I just thought that's kind of like really, like, I don't know.
Well, if he wasn't working with demolition material,
yeah, like
they wouldn't have but the thing is, I don't think that it would have been very effective. What, you hear a PA system telling you to...
No. Well, I was like, blowing up the power plant was not
but that was the only way that they could have said what they said, right? Because telling people, you need to leave town because there's a comet coming, people aren't going to listen to you.
No, I would have thought, given the fact that they had the explosives and they had someone who knew how to work the explosive, they'll try to blow something that's closer and get people to scare people away.
Yeah, but
much more effective way of getting people out of the place, right?
I think they were trying to blow something up that wouldn't hurt anyone.
Well, then that's the thing. Like he's supposed to.
But you need to have flames and explosion sounds. And
But if the explosion is close enough, people will run. That's not it's.
But
not
you don't want them running randomly. You wanted them to move in an orderly manner to the school. And if it was too close, people would panic and no one would be listening to anyone.
No, not necessarily to the school though. There was, as long as they were outside the radius, that was fine.
Yeah, but they said that if you go to the school, it'd be outside the radius.
Yeah,
and you don't want people to run in random directions and they run in a direction towards the lake because water. Right? There's explosion and fire. You go towards the water.
That's why you need to line up the explosions in the right places to scare people. But anyway, I just didn't like the plan that much. But
no, fair enough. But as you said, action part, you don't think too much about.
True. It's just accept it as it is. Fair enough. So okay, what else didn't I like? One of the kind of plot holes, I would say, is okay. So the guy travels to this town where Mitsuha. So Taki goes to the town where Mitsuha lives, well, where she used to live.
He physically
goes there, sees that it's been destroyed.
Yep.
Then goes to this temple, which is the sacred space, and basically drinks some wine, knocks himself out, and somehow manages to reconnect with her body.
Yep.
And does.
In a different time.
A different time. Okay, so he goes there at say, in the year 2000.
Yep.
And it goes back in say her body, which is in the year 1995 or something.
No, it was a 3-year difference, right?
1997. Okay. Yep. Tries to fix stuff, try to get people to go, doesn't work. Then finally he realized, maybe she's there because they've swapped bodies. So
the he and she, we need to be a bit more
clearer. Mitsuha in his body. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
He in her body was thinking she in his body would be in the temple area in 1997.
Yeah. Even though he knows that he was there in 2000. So there was no really there was no way that he could have been there because he was 3 years apart.
Yes. The whole idea was that scene, he, in her body, goes to that temple area trying to find she in his body.
Yeah.
But I don't know why that would have been. Yeah.
It wouldn't make sense because his body shouldn't be there. If she did switch, which she did, she should be in the year 2000.
Yes.
Not in the year 1997.
Well, okay. In saying that, though, he knows that she's dead, right?
Yeah.
He knows that they've been cut off, essentially because they're 3 years apart, but they've been progressing in tandem. Like, today's Monday, and they're both on a Monday, just 3 years apart. When he in his own body went to the temple in the year 2000. He shouldn't have been able to go back to her body because the date of her death has already passed. Like the 3-year anniversary of her death has already passed. The fact that he was able to go into her body more than 3 years back, there was he broke the system, right? He was able to travel back in time even further than he normally was.
Yeah.
So at that point, it was like, well, this is more than just the logic or whatever science it was that's happened. This is like pure magic now because they broke through whatever rules they've established at the start of the show. So anything could happen.
Yeah, I guess. I just felt like it logically didn't make sense. The guy would think, oh, she's going to be there. Like,
yeah.
Like it made sense while they were there because at that point, while they were both there, the whole Twilight time frame, yes, sure, they can pass through time and they can pass through, physical planes. That I get. But it's the fact that he thinks that, oh, she's going to be there. That's the part I had a problem with because it logically doesn't make sense because he knew that there was a time difference. So,
yes.
But yeah, so that was just the one thing that I kind of, look, it wasn't so bad that it made me felt, oh my God, the film's really bad. But it kind of did, now, when I thought about it, it kind of felt like, that could have been explained a bit better in some respects.
That's interesting, but I didn't actually notice it while watching the movie.
Yeah, because they did a very good job in covering that up.
Yes.
But
because there was the action, right?
Yeah.
He was running
Yeah.
and there was this time he has to get there before certain things happen. And you don't actually think about why is he going there?
Yeah.
It was just this rush.
And I find that's the funny part. Like some people will pick on these things and will delve on it, and some people will be like, oh well. And it's the same thing. Sometimes you see certain things and it's like, okay, you just have to accept it and get on. And this is one of those times. It's just like, yeah, there was something that didn't make sense, but just go with it.
For me, it would be they know that they're forgetting. They have to write their name on each other's hands.
And what do? They don't write their names. They write, I love you. What the hell?
He writes I love you.
She tries to write
They spend so much time talking that she doesn't have time to write her name on his hand. And I'm like, God damn it, people.
In saying that point was really, it tugged your hearts really well.
Yeah, that was...
Because not only did they couldn't write each other's name, it was that they started forgetting each other's name. And every details, all the notes that they used to have started deleting.
Yeah.
That was
But she knows that she's forgetting something. She knows she has to remember something. And she's saying, I need to remember his name. I need to remember his name. And then what's his name?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh shit, she's forgotten.
Yeah.
And
which is why this show, well, this movie uses your name because they've forgotten each other's name and they don't. And the whole end, the whole end part of this was they grow up after all this happened, saving all these people, but they don't remember each other. But they have this feeling of
missing something.
I'm missing something, and that's what they kept on saying at the start of the show. It's like, oh, I always felt like there's some part of me that's missing.
Yes, because the start of the movie was them in an adult form.
Yeah.
And the show kind of goes back in time and talks about them as their kids.
Yeah.
And they revisit the current time frame as them as adults. And you expand upon that. And you understand, now that you've watched the whole movie, you now understand why
they're missing something.
Yes, because there was this whole chapter in their life that they just completely forgot.
Yeah. Which
actually makes sense. This is one of those timeline movies, one of the time traveling movies that actually makes sense.
Yes, because that whole thing never happened.
Yes.
So they wouldn't have had all this
experience, except there was that slight nagging feeling.
Yeah, and that's why this film did so well, in my opinion, was they managed to, because everyone at some point in their life would say, oh, I feel something's missing, I just don't know what.
Yes.
And it plays on that Yes, you
feeling.
may have something missing and it may be really important, but you
I
just
think
don't know what it is.
I think that would only work for a slightly older audience.
Yeah.
And I say slightly, like our age.
Yeah.
Like I think a 16-year-old might not get the same impact
Yeah.
as a 32-year-old. Wait, I'm not 32 now, am I?
No, you're not.
Oh God. Let's not.
We'll not dwell on that anymore. Okay. Was there any part that you didn't like for the movie?
Well, you didn't mention the ending.
I'll leave that to you.
Yep. It's not a dislike. It was just a frustration, which they do solve. But
And God, there are so much frustrations in this movie. But they resolve, thankfully.
they resolve it. And,
But one of the biggest ones was...
well, you know, they show that these two people have been separated by time, and they only have this slight inkling that they're missing something. And this show, they really a lot of Japanese movies and anime really romanticize trains in Japan, probably because there's just so many
trains,
of them. Yeah. So the whole idea of you missing someone because you're on a different train line, like you would bypass each other and you will see each other through the window as the train move in opposite directions. So you have the main characters in separate trains. They're like kind of barely seeing what's around them because they're like, you know, how you are when you're on public transport. You're kind of like dazed. You don't really pay attention. Except then their
eyes catch each other.
Yeah, and then they kind of like wake up because they recognize each other from like
That tingling feeling, that nagging feeling of something's missing. That's what it is.
Yes, and then they run out of the train, right? They hop off the train at the next stop, and they're running through the neighborhood trying to find each other. And everyone in the cinema is getting like really tense because like, oh, this is it. This is the climax, right? They're going to meet each other and then they're going to recognize each other and then they're going to fall in love and that's going to be fantastic. And you have the two of them see each other and one at the top of the stairwell and one's at the bottom, and they stop and they're looking at each other. And then they walk slowly. One's walking down the stairs, one's walking up the stairs. And they bypass each other. And
without saying anything. And at this point, the whole audience at the back was like, no. And I was just like, oh God.
But you feel it though. You feel that frustration. I mean, come on. You've been missing this. This is the thing. Don't walk past. You need to talk to each other. And you're like, no, this can't be the end of the movie. They have to talk to each other. And I mean, God damn it, there are so many movies that will end like that, right? Where people just walk past each other, walk past out of each other's life, and that would be an ending. Thank God this doesn't happen. They look at each other, like they turn back, and
then they ask, you know,
what's your name?
What's your name?
Which, for God's sakes, I mean, by this point, that phrase had been said so many times, you can't help but have a tiny cringe moment. It's like, oh God, they're going to end this movie on this line. And they end the movie on this line. Wait, actually, did they tell each other's name? No. It was
they just say, what's your name?
Yeah, it ends on the question.
Yeah,
and I'm like, oh God. Like, at the same time, you'd be like,
oh, thank God.
Thank God they talk to each other.
Thank God.
They used that phrase in the movie. Yeah, that was a frustration. That was a.
But it was resolved.
It was resolved.
Thankfully, it was resolved. So yeah, there was a lot of frustrations in this film. So while it's
they don't detract from the movie.
No. While and as I say, we both enjoyed the movie very much.
And if anything, those frustrations made the movie more enjoyable because of the fact that they do get resolved.
Yes. So yeah, if anyone hasn't watched it and, you know, obviously having spoiled all the story by now, and feel like watching it, do watch it.
I still think it's worth watching, even if it has been spoiled. It's still worth watching because now you can watch the details.
Yeah. I don't know if I would want to watch it a second time. Just
Not so quickly, not so soon.
Yeah, I
but
think
it's
after a
definitely
while.
worth watching again because just from a storytelling point of view, they did a really fantastic job.
Yeah. Then this is what storytelling should be. It should, in some ways, it should tug you. It should give you that frustration, but it should resolve it.
Yes.
And
I mean,
which they do very
sure,
well.
they did gloss over a lot of the whole transition period of them getting used to each other. But, I mean, it's only a 2-hour movie. They didn't really have much time to work with.
There's only so much you can put into the film.
Yes, yes.
Any final words you want to say about the film?
I just found it really strange that he's actually younger than her.
Oh, was she? Was he?
Because supposedly, when he was traveling back in time, like, say he's 16, he traveled back to when she was 16.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and they have that three-year gap. She's actually older than him. There's actually a YouTube clip that was talking about it.
Okay, I did not. That never really.
They didn't specify it. You actually have to look into the details, like when they talk about what year level he's in and what year level she's in, and then you think about the time gap, then you kind of work it out from there.
Yeah. And I think that's another thing that they did well to kind of hide that was because they both
Were
were
in the same
in the
level.
same age and they were kind of going at the same kind of.
Right. Because that was also the thing. If they tried to keep it as a traditional thing where he's older than her,
it would be very kind of.
well, she wouldn't be able to catch up with his work, like schoolwork, because they're in this different year level, and that would be problematic.
Yeah.
So that was that. Because if you notice, when she went to him in her time, he was wearing a middle school uniform, not a high school uniform.
Oh, actually, on a bit of a tangent, what did you think about the whole thread theme? I didn't like it because I felt there was too many kind of themes going on already. I felt the thread feels a bit forced.
Well, the thread was supposed to explain the time traveling and the body and the gender swapping, the body swapping.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm fine with that idea. I felt the spiritual part of this was a little bit too heavy. It's fine to talk about the threading. It was fine to talk about her being part of a temple. I found the scene where he knocks himself out in the temple and then having that whole hallucination bit. I didn't know whether I needed to see her life from when she was born.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why. Like, I mean, sure, you talk about how her mother died and how her father walked out on them, but I didn't know whether that was necessary. It became a little bit too magical. But I think that is only because I'm watching it as as an international audience. This movie does assume that you have knowledge of Japanese culture or Asian culture. Like, there was that mention of her, and this went by really quickly, and I know Andrew didn't actually catch it, the fact that she cut her hair after she met him in her timeline.
And he didn't recognize her.
No, she cut her hair after she met him.
Yeah. As in, she met him, he didn't recognize her, and then she cut her hair.
Yes. Normally, in Asian cultures, this is not a general umbrella statement. This is only a thing that some people might know, and that when people break up, some girls will get their hair cut because it's supposed to symbolize a fresh start. You know, you're just trying to put your past behind you, so you get your hair cut. And the fact that they actually showed her with her hair cut without showing you that something has happened was supposed to let you know something of big import has happened. And it was supposed to foreshadow and let you know that there was a reason why she's done that. And it was because she went to find him and he didn't recognize her. But Andrew didn't notice that.
I didn't notice either.
And I think it might not just be a cultural thing, it might be a gender thing.
Probably. Sorry, because I pretty sure no guy would say cutting hair, and that means
Well, that's because guys don't have long hair, right? Most of the time. Most of the time.
Yeah.
The whole idea is that if you have long hair, the girl
yeah.
cuts it off, and it's dramatic because she's taken years to get it to that length, and then she cuts it off.
Yeah, I feel that's more of a gender thing more than the culture thing. Although culture thing would play in it, but I feel that's more gender based more than anything. But anyway, so anyway, that's kind of what we want our little podcast on your name. As I said, watch it if you haven't.
Yeah, it's worth watching.
There are bits that will frustrate you, but don't worry, it gets resolved.
It's worth watching, even through those frustrations. Okay, so looking at the time now, I think we need to wrap up. We already know what we're going to be talking about in our next episode.
Chagrin?
Yes.
So what are we doing next podcast, Serena?
We will be doing Matthew Riley's 7 Ancient Wonders. And that's if I don't manage to get Peter to change his mind between now and then. There's so many other things that we could talk about.
I was actually going to say, do you want to change your
Arjun
mind?
Season 2 is out.
Huh?
Arjun Season 2 is out.
Oh, really? I did not know that. But you said you weren't going to watch Arjun Season 2.
I would rather watch Arjun than read Matthew Riley.
No, I still feel we should do Matthew Riley.
No,
just because,
true.
actually, for one very important reason, is because this is something that we will actually be very different on.
Yes.
Because we usually are very similar in our taste, and we usually have a very similar outlook on certain things. So,
Although you don't appreciate the guy grabbing the girl's boob in this movie.
but generally, we do have a very similar taste and similar frustrations. So it'll be very interesting for me anyway to see why you hate it so much. Although you've already told me why you hate it so much. I would like to see more. And in saying that, I need to reread it, and maybe it will change my mind as well. Don't know.
You probably reread it and you realize why. And you'd be wondering why you're still reading this guy. Like, why are you paying him more money? This is...
to be fair, I've never actually reread. Oh, no, I've reread one of his books. I generally don't reread his books because they are action films. So it's kind of like most action films. I don't really rewatch action films. But anyway, look, we will do.
You never rewatched Indiana Jones?
Oh, did I? I may have, but I generally don't rewatch films if I can help it.
Terminator?
Terminator I've watched a few times.
Yeah, sorry, there's just some action movies that you have to watch.
Yeah, some of them. But as I said, generally I probably don't want to rewatch films. But yeah.
Matthew Riley will be our next book. I was just going to say, would you be interested in watching Dirk Gently?
What's that?
It's on Netflix.
Oh, okay.
It's Dirk Gently, Holistic Detective Agency.
Okay.
It's by the same person who wrote... It was originally a novel, by the same person who wrote Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh, right, okay.
There are some parallels.
Okay. I actually don't think I've actually read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I think I, for some reason, just bypassed that.
No, I haven't read it either. I just watched the movies.
I didn't watch that. I didn't watch the movie either. I was actually going to say it's probably an amount of time has actually passed for us to actually do Nevada in Fire.
You mean rewatch it?
And do the podcast for it, since this is the reason why we started our podcast in the first place.
Do you have time to rewatch 52 episodes of a TV series?
Well, I've got 2 months now after Matthew Riley.
I don't want to set anything in stone yet. We'll talk about this
as
the show.
Okay. But yeah, so at the moment, our next one is Matthew Riley,
Yes.
7 Ancient Wonders.
Yes.
And on that note, I think we shall wrap up.
Yes. Yeah. So our show notes will be available on triggerpointfm.com/05. You can find us on Twitter at triggerpointfm, or you can find us on the on YouTube, Triggerpoint Podcast, and send us emails via triggerpointfm@gmail.com. Let us know what you think. If you have any suggestions, we will love to hear from you. In saying that, I think that's it.
Enjoy the rest of, the holidays.
Well, holidays will be over by the time they hear this episode.
True.
Well, we'll see you next month then.
See you next month.
Bye.
Bye.